to Yuri, the voice actor, and they have now mapped this voice better. They mocapped this guy, and this guy was able to mimic Yuri's expressions better. So they now have a more natural expression from this character. Um, when I do look at them side by side, I don't mind it as much. And I think another thing that was brought up through another article I was reading earlier today was that we like this Peter because he is our Peter, right? When I first saw this Peter in game, I was like, okay. And then by the end, I was like, that's my Peter Parker because he did such a good job with the storytelling. I
It's one
think
of the
that
best games I've ever played, and it's because
I'll
of
tell you
him.
what,
Like that.
this
I don't
4K
think it was-
video.
No, go on. I think that give yourself 20 hours, double digit hours is what Greg was saying this morning with that previous character. Give yourself double digit hours with this guy. We've only seen one scene, see him jump out the window in the beginning when he's like in his underwear, putting his clothes on, getting ready to go to school or getting ready to save the day or whatever. He jumps out the window. That whole, get started with the character. You know what I mean? See him and MJ bouncing off of each other in the
I guess,
restaurant,
man. I guess.
and he'll start to grow on you. I think his neck looks more natural. I think his Adam's apple looks good. I think his forehead looks like a PlayStation 3 character. There's no
That's my
definition
biggest
at all.
gripe. That's my biggest gripe is that the whole character modeling looks like an old game, like a very
Mhm.
old game, not just
You
like
know
a
what?
game that was a couple years ago.
If you check out this 4K video I'm watching right now, man, it actually looks really good.
I
Looks
agree.
really
I'm
good.
gonna have to look into that.
This video that they put up.
And look at how the expressions are different.
Send the link
he's
to
got-
Discord, Mike.
He's got like a much more of a.
No, you can't. Oh, you dropped out.
Sorry.
He'll be all right. He'll jump back in. I've decided that we're gonna play these out the same way that multiple studios play them out, and it's just
Nope,
keep.
my bad.
On. Hey, no problem, dude. The expression on the face on the right versus the expression on the face on the left seems more natural. I do like that half open smile versus the one on the far left, like a creepo with he's grinding his teeth. You know what I mean? So if you're gonna add new expressions and it's not just a new character running on the old model, I'm okay with that. Another like silly observation I brought up was like, bro, what? No one knows anything about what's going on. Imagine your face was the face of a character for life. That means you have to do right for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Any time that you do anything that's questionable, they have to pull your face. I was like, maybe that had something to do with it. But
No, I mean that's a good point.
like you could get one DUI or something silly like that. That's a terrible offense. I'm just saying that if you had something like that come up, I can't imagine that they would say, yeah, we're going to keep that appearance forever. But again, I digress.
That's a fucking stretch. That's such a stretch.
Of course. That's why I digress. I say 100%. This is all for motion cap reasons. I agree with everything they said.
I guess. What's our other story that we're covering tonight? We're talking about.
Speaking of terrible decisions, I think that would be CD Projekt Red.
Which I hate having that in the same sentence because I look at them as like the quintessential like good guys in the video game industry.
They still are. They still are.
Like,
that's really not even the conversation. Like I wouldn't even say like, oh, look at these awful, terrible people. It's when you don't say something or put it in writing if you can't deliver on it.
Yeah, but I mean,
why would you put that kind of constraint on a game company?
So everybody's caught up on what we're talking about. CD Projekt Red promised their developers they wouldn't go into crunch, which is basically just overtime, working 6 days a week, in order to get the game to match deadline. They promised that it wouldn't happen, and it turns out they failed, and they are actually requiring their workers to work into a crunch, which again is just overtime. And in the video game industry, overtime is looked at as like the I can't believe they're making me work overtime.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
When that, I mean, I'm watching a lot of guys on Twitter.
They always work. All these game companies work in crunches.
Yeah,
all of them.
Well, not all of them. That's really not the case.
I think what Chris is saying is that a lot of industries outside of the video games industry work 6 days a week.
No problem.
It's
expected.
At an eighth of the pay of a developer.
Right. But the I did read a tweet, and forgive me if he ever watches this, because I have no idea what his name was, but he did make a very good point, saying that we shouldn't really be asking the question of why are these video game developers bitching about overtime, and ask the question on why overtime has become normalized in the salary in a salary world, where we discuss and we come to terms based on our salary, right? Based on our salary of being agreed upon at 40 hours, and then you just expect me to work 60, 70 hour work weeks. Because I better, or that my job could be, I could become expendable.
They said it could be 6 more weeks of crunches, which is 6 days of your life that you're giving to a company, and they are paying you handsomely for your time. And I thought about it, like, if I'd worked on this game passionately, happily, for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of my life, and you asked me for 6 more Saturdays, I wouldn't even bat an eyelid. 6 more Saturdays, and
maybe, but you haven't been putting in that work. I mean, I passionately love what I do, but that doesn't mean that I want to fucking work on Sunday.
That's.
I mean, it's time. It's time that you don't get back if something important is going on.
I did say I was in the mindset that, and I agree with what the main, I believe the main guy that spoke out on Twitter that works for them even said that, like, look, and like in recent years, 10% of our annual profits of our company generated in 2020 will be split directly among the team. So they are wellly compensating their team, not just with the annual profits, which is like a bonus, right? They're saying not only if you work these 6 days extra, which who cares if they're 6 or if they're 16 days extra? Not only are we going to pay you 3 times, they said, I've been reading articles, it's not just time and a half, it's double or 3 times over the pay. And if you're getting 3 times the pay to work an extra 6 or 7 days, and then on top of that, at the end of the year, when this game sells gangbusters at every fucking store, they say, hey, here's 10% to the sales numbers. We could be looking at a check that could buy you a car.
No, I don't disagree with that, and I don't even think it makes them bad guys or anything like that. I just feel
is that expected.
I agree with Chris's point that overtime is becoming. It shouldn't be normalized. It should be something. It shouldn't be all or nothing. If I can't beat that, you can't force me to do overtime. I mean, I guess you can.
Right.
I was wondering what
the repercussions would be, but I guess it simply falls into work on Saturday or don't come in on Monday.
Well, no, they wouldn't say don't come in on Monday.
No, I don't think they can do that.
They won't say don't come in on Monday, but that promotion you've been waiting on
because you're missing a day now. That's a mandatory day, right? You're missing a mandatory day of work.
Not necessarily. They can't force you to work
today. It's a 6-day mandatory work shift now. He said that in the article. It's mandatory. That was a line in his tweet. So if he's now saying that's what it takes to work here, if you don't show up Saturday, don't show up Monday. Is that what it means?
Yeah, I think it does. If it's mandatory, then then your new work hours are 6 days a week until this is done.
Until the crunch is over.
Yeah.
You probably even signed up in your contract that said you are subject to crunches. We will try our best not to, but we cannot control pandemics.
If the game's got to come out, the game's got to come out.
Probably. They probably did sign that. However, I believe that they stated that they wouldn't have a crunch in this game.
I believe that, but I don't know if that was contracted in the same way that you
probably not. But you shouldn't publicly say something like that. Or
Agreed.
send it in an email.
I do believe that was a huge
because I can only imagine how this conversation started at the company. Like, hey guys, like, I know we said this wasn't going to happen.
I know you probably got holiday plans and all,
but everybody in that vacation to Vail you were going to take here in a week. I'm going to need you to come in a couple of extra
And
Saturdays
I got to say, I can't feel too bad about some developers who are making really good money and having them work 6 days a week is
no matter how much money you make, if it's your sister's wedding on that Sunday, if it's your daughter's wedding on that Sunday, and it's now a work day because CD Projekt Red gotta get it out.
You
They
were
don't
on that
like-
team. You were on that team, right? Like,
I get it.
I get
it,
the
man.
leader may have not separated the task correctly, but like these guys were on that team, and that whole team, you failed as a unit to hit that
Well,
line.
they said that
You know,
Dan
like-
Houser, when he was working on Red Dead, would work until 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and people were scared to leave because his office was right at the end. And if
So
he
he'd
saw
see
wa-
you.
if he saw you walking out before him, he wanted you to know, like, I'm still here. So you think that you can go home if I'm still here? You know what I mean? That
I'm sorry.
dedication
You
to
working
make
at 1 or
the
2
game.
in the morning, homie, dude. Like, God bless you to death.
That's
But like,
not a job for you.
it's not, but that's my
obviously
point, right? Like, it's not just the leaders, right? It's also the guys who wanted to go home at 8 p.m. while their leaders were working at 1 in the morning, and now they got to work the crunch because they wanted to go home at 8 p.m., right? So,
And
that's
from what
it.
I've heard, CD Projekt Red had no chance to delay the game any further. Had they moved it to January 2021, they would have lost. Mike, we've lost your audio. You would have. You're back. We would have lost they'd have lost all the holiday sales.
Yeah.
And this game is gonna sell like you've not seen a game sell since Grand Theft Auto. It's gonna, not only do people love first person shooters, they love Cyberpunk. Not only do people love Cyberpunk, they love CD Projekt Red. We have got ourselves here a sexy, futuristic first person shooter that is made by one of, if not the best developers in the last 10 years. And it is 2 weeks away from dropping in our hands. And I just believe, not 2 weeks.
Don't get me a hard on like that,
Six-
bro. It ain't 2
six-
weeks away, bro.
It is-
God damn you,
that's
bro.
what we said 6 Saturdays. It is 6 weeks away from dropping. And I couldn't be more excited for a game to drop. I don't think anybody could be. Alana Pierce, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the last podcast or I just mentioned it to you on the phone, but she says that The Witcher 3 was the game of the generation. Put anything else you want next to it, it doesn't match it. Last of Us, great, not The Witcher. The Witcher falls into
Agreed.
its own.
Agreed.
It really does. And I always use certain friends of mine as metrics. I always say, like, if this guy liked it and he fucking hates that style, that means that the general public are going to eat this thing up. And I've got friends who hate Game of Thrones, who hate goblins, who won't watch Lord of the Rings, who think all that stuff is just stupid. And now they've watched every episode of The Witcher and they've played all the game, they've beat the game, they've downloaded the DLC. I'm surprised they haven't read the books. And to me, it's more than a game. It's a world they've built that
Right.
you step into
It's the
every
lore.
time you fire the game on.
It's 100% the lore.
Hmm.
That makes
the
that
lore
game
is
special.
fantastic. So Cyberpunk doesn't have that lore, or does it? But
Oh, it does.
we'll
They
see.
said they've worked on the lore forever in this game. It's
It's
going to
the
be
gangs.
deep.
It's the lore, kind of like how GTA has lore. How when you're in GTA, there's a whole world living around you. And
Yeah,
that's,
those gangs are going to you're going to know about the guy that first got the cyber implant.
Mhm.
You know, that'll come up as a side quest or a
Yeah.
side story, or you'll meet some guy with a shoddy implant who's like, I got this done from a black market fucking ripper. You know what I mean? Not some main quest.
Might even get some blurring of the lines between the lore.
Oh, I'll do anything for some Witcher 3 or Witcher Cyberpunk Blur of the Lines, but I
Yeah.
do think that's just happy wishing from everybody who would love to see it. I don't think it needs it. I think Cyberpunk's going to be so cool, so slick. The way that they have cool points based on the outfits that you wear, and the higher your cool points, the better respect you get from the people you speak to, makes you just like, what? This game is cool. I don't know if you know, Chris. It's based on a tabletop game that a man made, I believe, in the 1990s, and it was called Cyberpunk. And they took the game and they asked him, can we turn this into Cyberpunk 2077? And the guy's like, absolutely. And now they're doing that. So check it out, man. I'm going to look it up right now myself. But Cyberpunk Tabletop. Tabletop RPG. And it pops right up. And, you know, you come to find out this
We
guy
should
made
get
this
it and
whole
play it,
world.
bro. We should play that shit.
Yeah, with all the miniatures. You see that? Yeah, it's like Warhammer, bro. And so he came up with this whole world before CD Projekt Red got their hands on it. The same way that the book for The Witcher was a book before it was a game. And he went to the writer of the book and was like, "Yo, we love your shit." That's why I love them. They don't have to come. They go to George R. Martin or whatever and say, "Give us your book." You know, they'll go to who. I'm not saying he wrote The Witcher. I'm just saying they'll go to a kick-ass writer who's already good at building worlds, and they will build the world. You know, it's a unique. They're cool. The CD Projekt Red are cool, and I think they're aware that they have a job to do inside the industry. And I might be rambling a bit now, but I'm going with it. I believe they're aware that they have a job to do, like Rockstar. They mentioned openly in multiple press conferences how much they like the business practices of Rockstar, how they think that the way they roll their games out without any issues at all is how everybody should roll their games out. Their attention to giving people free DLC is a model that The Witcher just followed suit with. So that's the thing. CJ Projekt Red are like our knight in shining armor. You know, you got development companies that are pumping out a freaking new Need for Speed game every 7 months, and then you've got games that take 9
Did you mean EA?
years. You tell
EA.
them. You tell them. EA and their nasty publishing
EA.
skill.
Notice
But-
how when we say your name, it doesn't sound good.
Ubisoft too, though, man.
Doesn't taste good. Doesn't taste good on the tip
I
of
know
your
your
tongue.
building is right on the street for me too.
Although EA has done some seriously new revamps within their company. They are aware
They
now
have.
that microtransactions killed them and almost completely ruined their business with Battlefront 2. And now that they've removed them entirely, there wasn't a single microtransaction in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Not one. You couldn't even buy an outfit, I believe, online. It was just,
No, but have you seen what is Madden 2021? Or should I say, really, Madden 2020? Since
of course, it's
all
just,
it was
feels
a
like-
fucking copy and paste. They didn't even fix
always
the
what they do with
franchise
Madden.
mode, which is what everybody cares about. And everybody hated the franchise mode from 2020. They didn't even fix it. They kept it the exact fucking same. It's
They don't listen to their.
that game is a fucking money grab.
But I would say, in their defense, and I don't defend them often, but NBA did the same thing. 2K did the same thing this year. They did a roster update, and that's all they did.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, and
Come
that's
on,
bullshit
man.
too. I mean, their franchise mode needed a bunch of work too, and they didn't
Yeah.
do it.
Even
And
their online
it's
mode, they were
terrible.
like, oh, we took
I
you
mean,
out of New York, and we
Why
put
don't
you
they
in
just
Miami.
instead? These games already look good. Just release the roster update. Stop making people buy the game for the roster.
Have you
update.
noticed how 2K
Stupid.
haven't released the trailer for their next gen basketball
Yeah.
game?
Yeah.
Every time they release a trailer, it openly says current gen trailer. I'm like, oh, dude, the NBA 2K21 trailer for PS5 is going to be them in real life. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, it's going to look so
Even
good.
2020, bro, I've seen the side by sides of real life and of 2K
It's crazy.
2020, and it almost looks like the video game is more realistic than the real life video. You know, it's like, what is going on? How did they do it this
and
well?
all these sports games have done a tremendous job of removing the HUD now. So all you see is what you would see in a traditional game. In the bottom corner, the Bulls. Next to it, the Cavs or whatever.
It's like you're watching a game.
100%. When we're playing FIFA, me and my son score in the top left-hand corner. Tiny little map that's somewhat see-through in the bottom middle, so you can't even really see it. And then none of the players have any markers above their head. Or you've got your red and your blue to know which player you are. But other than that, there's no circles around the player's feet. None of that. It makes you feel like, oh yeah, this is it, man. We're watching.
We're
you
in
know,
control of a game that
FIFA
we're
game.
watching right now.
And it's only getting better. And I'm a big fan of animations. Chris and I talk about it weekly, I feel like, that graphics have got to where they need to be. Ray tracing has fallen into a beautiful spot. DLSS is going to find its place. We needed a bigger VRAM to handle more animations. We wanted that. I wanted every time Michael got off of a motorcycle to look different than the time before. I don't want to get tired of animations where I'm playing Zelda and like every time he climbs up from the ledge, it's the same. I'm not saying it is. It might be different every other time, but I need it to be different every 20 times. I need it to be like he doesn't
More
just-
on-screen rendering.
Yeah, he doesn't just brush his nose and then 4 minutes later he touches his ear, then 4 minutes later brushes his nose. I don't want to see him brush his nose again for 2 hours. He's got to do something else. And when those animations start to catch up, which is where we're getting now in video games, that's when I think we're gonna really start to see
Immersion.
I don't know, immersion. And
Full
yeah,
immersion.
thanks, Chris. I was losing it there. I was like, where are we going with this? But yeah, it's that immersion that when you see the keeper screaming at the guy for defense, but he's not doing it in the way that you've seen in every other half cutscene. You know, when you're playing Apex and you win, it's not just you guys doing the same, yeah, we did it. It's like pushing each other, taunting each other, smiling, angry faces. You know, bring an amount of immersion to the world that makes you now go, damn, I felt that snarl. Did you feel that snarl? I sent you a GIF today, Chris, yesterday, of Ellie blinking her eyes.
Yep.
And how real did it look? You forget how good The Last of Us 2 was.
I don't forget. That
like,
game That game is the only next-gen game out on current-gen consoles. That game is next-gen. Like, it really is.
What game is it?
Last of Us 2.
Part 2.
Mm.
It's a true next-gen gem. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's only going to look like it belongs on a PS5.
Right. Like,
it's not going to look out of place.
That game is going to make PS5 games go like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, the way...
Yeah, current PS5 games, like Assassin's Creed.
Right.
And other things. There, Miles Morales. Then you're going to see a remastered Last of Us and go, we're not even making games. Like,
No. When I turned that on, like all those different death scenes, those animations were what it was. When you die in that game, Mike, every single time it's different. Every single time. So like if a zombie comes at you from behind and bites your neck, if someone comes up to you with a big hammer and kicks you in your chest and you fall on your back and she takes the hammer and smashes you in your head, every time is different depending on where you are when you're getting killed. And it's like those, and they're horrifying, you know. It's like they show every single second. They don't go black. They show you getting your head smashed in with a giant hammer, and it feels so real. Like the interactions are just, I mean, nothing I've ever seen on current gen or on PC on anything. Any game that's ever been made does not have these kind of animations. Last of Us.
I gotta beat the first one so that I can start playing that one. I just
do not touch the second one.
Much
do not touch the second one until you play the first one, because you will lose.
That's what I've been told.
You'll lose 1,000 times of the impact of the second one, because the second one just rips your fucking heart out after playing the first one, and you gotta play the first one to get it, to really get
I'll do it.
You know,
I will.
You know.
I will, and then we'll do something like a "We Told You So" segment.
Yeah, right. That we should do that, man. Dude, straight up, man. That'd be great. I mean, do you guys want to get into these new game impressions? I know we already talked about Genshin Impact.
We already talked about Genshin. I don't know if you guys want to mention it about Epic being slammed by the courts, telling them that what they did was wrong.
So I didn't hear anything.
Surprisingly, this is still in the news.
So I did not hear about this. What is?
Yeah.
I didn't even see it on the street. What are we talking about? Epic? What happened?
The judge in the court case slammed them as being not honest.
Epic?
The judge said, and I quote, "You did something. You lied about it by omission, by not being forthcoming. That's the security issue. That's the security issue." Gonzalez Rogers told Epic, "There are a lot of people in the public who consider you guys heroes for what you guys did, but it's still not honest."
So because they kind of trapped Apple in that.
Well, it's what this is actually about is it's centered around them bypassing Apple's percentage cut policies, which led to Apple removing Fortnite. So it's geared towards that, towards them circumventing that. And it's true. They signed a contract to do it a specific way. They secretly changed it up without even going to Apple and asking them about it. I mean, obviously they knew what they were doing, and they wanted to not get that cut taken out. They wanted more money, but
I mean,
what do you say?
I mean, are they going to be able to do anything as far as holding Epic responsible for this? I mean, what is there?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the court case is still going on. The problem with court cases like this is that these companies have so much money that they're just going to keep burying each other until somebody finally decides to just give in.
The only real winners in this are going to be their law firms.
Well,
that
of course. Yeah. I mean, we're losing because now, the people on iOS can't play it. So
you think they'll ever go back?
We'll see. I think that they're trying to. I think that they think that they're Robin Hood coming in for all of the little game companies who can't afford maybe to pay Apple's percentage cut, and who knows?
They're
Who
not.
knows?
They're
I mean,
definitely, certainly
they're
not
not.
Robin Hood.
They're not. Because the problem is that you can't cut contracts like this. That's what they're there for.
That's what I don't really understand, why the beef with Apple. It's not like they started out being like, oh, we're going to give you our access to our store for free. Like, their terms and conditions are, if you want us to spread and distribute your application on all of our devices, it's
You owe us a cut.
30%. That's what it is. Do you want to do it or not? And they're like, yeah, we want to do that. That sounds great. And then Fortnite blows up to this big fucking conglomerate. And now Apple's like, oh, all right, this is great. We have a great relationship. And then Fortnite goes and stabs them in the back like this. And it's like, as much as I am anti corporate establishment like that, I feel like Apple has enough money. At the same breath, I feel like the terms and conditions were set forth for them to collect their 30%. There's nothing wrong with what they've done. They actually came to terms. They had a deal, and Epic went behind their back, and tried to fuck them over. And I don't know how they have a leg to stand on. I mean, it's like, I really don't understand that. I don't understand what they're thinking. Why they think that that's okay. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
There are some talks that Epic may have also been spurred into action by the fact that Apple seemed to be making deals in defiance of its own supposed blanket app fee by offering Amazon a better deal in order to secure exclusivity of Prime Video on Apple TV platforms.
Not just that, Luna as well. Luna Games from Apple, from Amazon. That's going to be huge for them. Luna's not having any of the same problems that xCloud had,
and its channels.
The reports say that they pay half the amount of money Amazon do than any other company because they have a tight relationship with Apple. For some reason,
they tried the same shit that Epic did, and Apple said, "Hey, man, this is bad," and Amazon said, "Look, we'll just rip all of our services off of our. You won't use Amazon. You won't use anything on iPhone." And they were like, "Wait, okay, never mind."
15% instead of 30%, I believe.
Honestly, I don't know that Apple could afford to lose out on that.
No, I mean, that'd be crazy. But I mean, that's because Amazon has leverage. You can't, that's just negotiations,
Epic doesn't have any leverage.
There's no leverage. Like, what are you trying to say? Leverage. Like, we're going to not play our game on your console anymore, on your services? Okay, we'll get fucked.
All right, fine.
Like, see ya. There's nothing
I don't think that enough gamers in the world are going to piss Apple off enough to make a decision like that.
Definitely not like Amazon, Boyd.
It's not going to happen.
Side note, when Steve Jobs started the iPhone, he only thought it was going to take 1% of the market. He didn't know it was going to do what it did. He was like, we'll be lucky if we can corner 1% of the cell phone market. He didn't know we were going to be on these things every single day.
Could you imagine really coming up with a device, with an invention that changes the landscape of how people function on a day-to-day basis?
This is
I can't imagine that, or else we would be there.
Right?
This is as big as the wheel. This is as big as the motor car. This is bigger than the motor car, probably. It's bigger than the phone. It's bigger than the internet. It's as big as the internet, perhaps, because it refined it. Not to get too far off topic, Rockstar Support is telling fans to stay tuned for GTA 6 updates on Twitter.
Oh, here we go. Now we're heating up. But wait a minute. Don't we have a remaster for 5 coming?
Can we say that again? Rockstar Games is telling fans to be ready for what?
Rockstar Support is telling fans to stay tuned for Grand Theft Auto 6 updates on Twitter.
I saw that, and that was a few
days ago. The official Rockstar Support. This is actually...
But read the tweet, because it definitely sounds like we don't have anything up, but stay tuned, because we will
Not
soon.
Yet. Somebody then asked them after that. Their exact words were, stay tuned for GTA 6 updates. Somebody else said, look, it's been about 10 days, so I'm just wondering, is it going to come out? If you can't say anything, it's totally fine. I just go crazy for even the littlest things about GTA 6. Rockstar Support then said, there is no new news on the topic yet, but please stay tuned to the Rockstar Newswire for official updates, which is where they usually drop the trailers. My brother had a great point this morning that they release a trailer 1 year out, usually.
But that's just literally them saying there's no news, but when there is, we'll tell you about it. Like, that's
They're
all
saying
they
that-
really
no,
said.
they're saying they have nothing else to tell you now. They said that stay tuned for the upcoming news. Then they were like, "What can you tell us?" And they're like, "Can't say anything yet." They can't say anything until Rockstar drop it. Rockstar can drop. Remember, Rockstar dropped for Red Dead Redemption. They just dropped a Twitter picture of the sunset, and
Yeah, I
everyone
remember that.
fucking wild. And we're like, "Oh, Red Dead 2! It's Red Dead 2!"
I don't want
Yeah.
to. They better not do no fucking.
It's amazing when you have brand recognition like that.
Oh, dude,
it's
so
incredible, especially in games.
They could drop a
it's-
trailer that would break the internet. I've been for both the trailer reveals online. I remember when Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, and I had my laptop queued up to play the trailer when it came out. I'm gonna Google it right now. Grand Theft Auto 4 trailer breaks the internet, because I remember sitting there going, "It's not working." GTA 4 trailer breaks the internet. It wasn't the GTA 5 trailer, it was the GTA 4 trailer. Yeah, GTA 4 trailer breaks the entire internet. Wired.com, 2007. I was there for this. I just saw the trailer, but it wasn't easy. Rockstar has basically shut down any website that serves up the game-related videos. Fat chance for trying to get through to their official page. Game videos is down as well. I was able to see the trailer for a brief moment at Game Trailers myself, but it looks like it's set in a real-life New York City, blah, 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 blah. With an immigrant that's just arrived to America. I'm telling you guys, I was there for it. I was queued up. I was like, I had like a couple of my brother's friends with me. I'm like, this is gonna be it, guys, and it wouldn't work. I'm like, there's no way this game broke the internet.
That was GTA 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that. Nikolai.
Yeah, man, Nikolai Bellic.
Yep. That was a fantastic dude. The opening scene to that whole game is so iconic.
They coming over on the boat, right?
Yeah.
That guy's fucking that chick, and he's like,
Actually, you know what? I think three
he's
might
getting
be.
whipped by
I think
it.
3 might be even more iconic of a beginning to a game than that.
Yeah, I'll give you
If I
that.
remember
With
correctly.
I
You get that big old chase scene in the beginning where you got to go and find your. I forgot. You go to that like bar.
GTA 3
Yeah,
was so good.
Yeah, it's like a jailbreak out.
Oh, okay. No, GTA 3 is very easy. So
Yeah.
I didn't know what you were talking about. So 3, you're working with Catalina, the girl,
Mhm.
and you go to do that bank robbery, and she shoots you in the chest
Yep.
as you're about to get into the getaway
Yep.
car. And then you and CJ or Carl.
That's
I can't
right.
remember,
That's right.
You're in the orange jumpsuits, and he breaks you out, and you get out, and you jump into the car, and you drive off with him. He's 8-Ball. It's you and 8-Ball. And is it 8-Ball? I think it's
No, isn't that?
it's one of the guys that sets you up with your first contact. And then from then out, it's great. That's a good intro to a game. I would say that.
No, that's not Grand Theft Auto 3. That's the other one.
No, 8-Ball's in it as well. Trust me. He has his 8-Ball has his garage behind in Grand Theft Auto 3. Remember the car lot that you could go in and smash out and get the Cobra? It's behind there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
8-Ball
do
lives in
remember
a 8-Ball lives in a shed
Damn.
behind there.
Yeah, it was on the showroom floor, and it was
Yep.
the Comet,
You
not
could
the
always
Cobra,
get
the
that
Comet
red
car.
one every single time.
you
That's
know
where you go.
Guy who grew up on Grand Theft Auto 3 and didn't put it down, dude. My dad bought it for me when I was so young, and he was like, "Look, I'm not really into you just running around and hurting random people. Is there a story?" And I'm like, I think. And I played the story right to the end, right where you do that mission with that woman and you kill the woman and all the people, all the gangs. by
Oh
the
my
pier.
god, dude, the graphics in this, it's so it's
Oh,
so
yeah,
funny
man.
to look at.
I don't want to
can't believe
I
this.
agree. When we were talking about remakes earlier this week, Mike, I agree with you. I wouldn't want to see a remake from Grand Theft Auto 3 when we have Grand Theft Auto 6 on the horizon. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
there
definitely
isn't-
not. No,
there's
they're
not-
too good at story making for you to want to. You
go
don't
back.
need to replay that story again. You
So-
want to see what the next story from them is.
Can I
Now, could you
say
see-
that's my issue with remakes? It's not that I don't want to see my classic stories being remade.
It's where else could you go?
It's the plot line, right? Like I'm a huge, as you guys know, it's plot and character development. And with a remake, with a remaster, even with something like Final Fantasy VII remastered, these plot lines have been done.
Ooh, Final Fantasy VII's a hard one,
It doesn't-
man. It's
I also-
that.
I keep trying to
I
tell
don't
him
know,
that
man.
they're when you play Final Fantasy VII, the only thing that is the same about that
doesn't-
game
right,
is the intro.
Then
It
take
doesn't
Final
feel
Fantasy
like
VII
a,
out
it
of
doesn't
it,
feel
right?
like a reboot or a remake.
I didn't
It
play
feels like
Final
a different
Fantasy
game.
VII, sure, but the fact remains that remakes and remasters are 9 times out of 10 the same plot lines, the same characters, the same character development. There is no new hashed out storytelling other than some small details.
See, like Final Fantasy VII does. That's
Yeah.
the big. That's the
And not
big
just that.
thing.
My argument is that there are plenty of new games, right? When you talk about a remastered game, it's usually passed off to a company like Bluepoint or a company like Double Fine, and they will handle the remake because they've been proven to handle remakes perfectly. So you'll still see your company making something that you love. It's just they've signed off on allowing somebody else to make something better. Now, in the example of Square and Final Fantasy, they were never going to hand that off. Me and Mike were looking it up last week. They put their best studio on Final Fantasy VII, and it's not that they put their worst studio on Avengers. It's just that Crystal Dynamic developed Avengers, and it was Square Enix Division 1 that did Final Fantasy VII. And also Final Fantasy VII was a work of art. They're not made by the same people. Crystal Dynamics, I don't even know who the producer is, but I can tell you now, the producer of Final Fantasy VII is like a king in his country.
That's why I'm so excited for 16 is because Naoki Yoshida is the one that's doing it, is directing it, and he is like a god in the Final Fantasy realm.
Is he the guy that did 7?
He's not the guy who did 7, but he's the guy. He did Dragon Quest 10. There's so many, a bunch of the Dragon Quest games. He's the one that saved Final Fantasy 14 Online by building a Realm Reborn and making a masterpiece out of the game, and then did all of the DLCs after. He did Dimension.
Hey, if you can turn Final Fantasy 14 around from what I now hear is a 10, from what was like a 4.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he did 10 or 15. I mean,
oh, good. 15 was great. 15 was great. The story was very convoluted, but I believe that's what you sign up for with a Metal Gear or a Final Fantasy game.
Yep, for sure.
You don't play those games for their. I mean, their stories are fantastic, but they are always going to be wildly confusing. Also, I'd like to say from last week's episode, we were all speculating that perhaps there would be a remastered Metal Gear Solid, and we weren't sure if that was because trademarks had been published that day. I've also read rumors today that it might not be a remake of the original game. It's just that all of the Metal Gear games are now coming to PC, so they had to publish the certs for the PC. So if the rumors are still out there about a remake, I'm all for it. I'd love a remake. But it seems like those rumors and whistles that we had heard about games and trademarks and websites being, re-signed up for, I would assume that had a lot to do with these new games coming out on PC, because a lot of the original Metal Gear games never hit the PC, apparently. I didn't know that, but it's exciting to see if we get Metal Gear 5 on a PC. That would look great. 4 on a PC. 4 has never been off of the PlayStation 3. It didn't make it to 4. It's only on the 3. I'd love to see Metal Gear Solid 4 where you're an older Snake. He's like in his 60s.
Metal Gear Solid 4 was a great game.
Yeah, I'd love to see that on the PC. I'm learning that there's a lot of great games that I'd like to play on the PC. Jedi Fallen Order, I've beaten it to completion 100%. Yeah, I still get the urge that if I heard a rumor this morning, again, all from Kind of Funny.
Nick, I'm not kidding when I say that playing that game on PC literally is like playing through a movie. Yeah, I mean, it looks like that. It is incredible.
Yeah, it runs.
I can't believe that I don't play that every day.
Yeah, it's great, dude. It really is. It's a great game. They did a fantastic job with it, and yeah, the rumor this morning was that this is kind of news as well, so we'll just pile it in. November 12th, when the Xbox drops, is when they are going to partner with whatever EA's live streaming service is. Do you know what that is? Is it called Play? Is it called Uplay?
EA Play.
It's not called Uplay. So EA Play is coming out for the Xbox December 12th and will come to PC in December, which at first I was like, oh, are you kidding me? But then I was like, all right, it's probably going to be 1 month later that they optimize it for PC. So let's say we get for December 12th-ish. They said that wouldn't it be great, since Star Wars has already been out since November 15th of last year, to put it on EA Play as a premier title to get people even more invested in the Xbox ecosystem.
Fallen
All
Order.
of a sudden, you can put Fallen Order on the TV and say, if you spend $15 on your Xbox, get this game, that game, this game, that game. And I think that's going to do a lot to move some units, man. They're really, again, boistering up their lineup, because you have to imagine that as Xbox becomes more profitable, the games that are going to come onto their service are going to want either one of two things. They're going to want more money to be on Xbox Game Pass, because they're like, yo, you're making hand over fist, and you're expecting us to come out day one on your system? Give us some money. That's coming. Two, they're going to say, we want more time between when you put us on Game Pass and when we release. If you're not going to give us enough money, we want more time. As that starts to happen, Game Pass is going to, quote unquote, lose its value as the years go on. Now, they hopefully can't increase prices, but with Netflix, we saw them go from 8 to 12 very easily. I think Netflix even started even lower than that. And Amazon's gone up too. And these are very introductory price points where they're saying, like, look, man, for $15 a month, you can get this, you can get that, you can get this. But, as more and more games realize we don't need to be a games of service. Ubisoft are going to make their own eventually, I'm sure. And then EA made their own, but they partnered with Xbox. And then PlayStation are going to make their own. And before you know it, these games are going to be more spread out, more easily accessible. You're going to be able to grab them like we do from a Steam store sale for $10 instead of grabbing them for $70 on this platform over here. And when that starts to happen, I believe we'll see one of two things: a decrease in the value of Game Pass, or an increase in the price, which is both not great for gamers. And it's going to be a while before that happens. But if Game Pass gets too successful, I hope they don't get greedy and start. You have to imagine developers, if you've made a kick-ass game, you're going and that there's now 4 times the amount of people on Game Pass than there were originally, you're going to want 4 times the money.
It's true.
Because otherwise, I'll just put it out on disc and everyone will buy it. You know what I mean? Like, make the call here. Make more. I like where they're going with games, where they're like, you know what? We'll make this game as cheap as we can. Star Wars Squadrons, I'm looking at you. I'm very excited about this on Friday. But they're like, we'll make a game for $40 because we'll make money off of the microtransactions. Right? Like, they got, like, for instance, a skin that makes your X-Wing look identical to Poe Dameron's for $8. But you can't buy packs of money unless you buy 10s, 15s, and 20s like Fortnite. $10. Boom. There you go. Now you've got 200 credits left over after you bought the Poe Dameron X-Wing, and you find out that for another 100, you could have an upgraded looking blaster cannon. So now you got to drop a
Chris, you want to do late to the party with me before you fall asleep?
I'm telling you, man. I'm just posted up listening to this.
Just sitting here watching your eyes close about 10 times before I said that.
My eyes are just squinted. I'm paying attention. I'm trying to keep up with the fact that Squadrons is going to be a really good game. You don't
have to hope for it. It's a $40 game. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. I wouldn't recommend it if it's not. But the beautiful thing is buying it on Steam allows you to have that 2 hours of playtime before you're really sold on it.
Man, you're gonna barely get through the damn tutorial in 2 hours.
This isn't gonna force you through a tutorial. You could probably jump straight online in a game like this, which is fair. But
I need to see some reviews. It comes out soon, right?
Yeah, but in their defense, I looked up this morning. The review embargo didn't lift until midnight release date for Star Wars, and that had us all freaking out. But that got 9 out of 10s and traditionally just crushed it. I'm not saying this game's getting a 9. If I had to put money on it today, I'd say you're going to see 8s across the board, with some giving it a 7, and the Metacritic will average out around 73. That's my estimate on the situation. I could be wrong, but
I get worried about games that are made for VR specifically to try and be anything other than a gimmick. But
the thing is, it's not like a VR game. It's that the VR was built for it from the ground up, but it's always been a first-person cockpit space.
Yeah, I mean, think about No Man's Sky.
Yeah, You know, like
honestly, when I play No Man's Sky in VR, it feels natural. It doesn't feel like that game was made for the console. It feels like it was made.
Yeah, but this
for
game
that.
was made for VR.
Right.
you could say that it was, but I don't think it's going to hinder players that don't have VR because you're in a situation where your cockpit isn't like a especially think about this, the cockpit on a TIE fighter is a circle in the front, Chris. So you can't look above your head because that's the roof of the TIE fighter. You only have the circle window on the TIE. On the Interceptor, you have a circle window on the front on a TIE Interceptor. On an X-Wing, you have this like triangle like thing. So you would look up there, sure, and you would look up there, but the window stops here because in the movie the cockpit comes down above Luke's head and closes like that, right, and ends there. So there is no looking behind you in an X-Wing. You can only see out of these two windows in the same way. The best you're going to be able to do is look at your wings a bit better and maybe look up a little bit. But I don't think it's going to be a game changer. You're flying fast. This isn't Flight Simulator. You're doing circles. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, flying through the street.
I mean, I really think that VR was mainstream built for flight sim games, and flight combat games. So, like, if anything's going to convince me to get a VR headset, it's going to be this game.
But remember, this is intense. You're
It should be
upside
Half-Life
down.
Alex. Don't sleep.
Of course, but if you're upside down in VR, you're right side up in VR, this is a game where you're constantly moving like this. I can imagine that eventually you're going to be like, I gotta take this off for a second. I'm flying circles around asteroids and it's making me weak.
Yeah,
That's
I
how I
mean,
felt while I was playing No Man's Sky with you the other day. Like, I accidentally put one of my controllers down and it put me in like a death loop, and I was like, I was dying.
There's always options. You know, we have when you got a curved monitor, it kind of feels sometimes when you're sitting close enough that you're in it. You know what I mean? You're like, can't see anything on either side.
I was looking at a guy online that had 3 42-inch ones that went all the way around, and somebody asked, they were like, hey, when you sit up at the keyboard there, he's like, you have to turn your head all the way, right, to look at. He's like, yeah, I do, but honestly, I'm mostly looking at the one in front of me all the time. So, but it's ridiculous. So you're right. You're right. It's the same feeling.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I'm excited. We'll see. We're only 2 days out from that, so by the time this next episode goes live,
It's Friday.
Yeah, you can check this out. And what I'm going to start letting you guys know is that if you want to watch the show live, you can head over to twitch.com/high input games, or at the moment, the Kodiak Gaming, and you can watch this live if you wanted to. And I think that's a really good plug to let you guys know that, like, you could watch it live. You could even tell us what we're saying wrong as we say it wrong in the Twitch chat, and then we could correct ourselves so we don't sound like fools.
That's very true.
So if you guys are interested in doing that anytime, if you want to catch us live, it's almost every Wednesday at 9 p.m. If we're a little late, it's usually because, I don't know, it's just how it goes. Let's see what else we got on you had a review, didn't you, that you wanted to talk about, Mike? Let's see.
Me and Chris were going to do a little segment that we like to call Late to the Party. It's where we talk about a game that's been out for a little while, but we kind of recently started playing.
Late to the party.
And that game is Golf with Your Friends. What do you think, Chris?
I gotta say, this game surprised the shit out of me, man. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. We both jumped into this game just kind of for shits and gigs. It was a freebie on Game Pass. If you guys got it, download it. It's free. Because of quarantine, I can't recommend a game like this any higher. You know, when people are playing games, they're trying to find a game that can get a big group of people together and have a good time. Lighthearted. There's no real, like, competition is more about the joy, the fun. The animations are cool as hell. The maps are cool as hell. I loved it, man. It's just, when you think a mini putt-putt game, that's it. They absolutely knocked it out of the park. You know, that's it. There's nothing wrong. The only thing I would say is that I don't like that we play at the exact same time. Like, I wish that it was turn-based.
You mean like how I can almost watch where you go, and
Right.
so then I can use that line too?
That would be fine. But I wish that everyone in the group was watching me play, right? So like it would be my turn.
Could you imagine how slow that would be, though?
Sure, but that's putt-putt. You know what I mean? Like that's how you play.
Yeah.
I feel like it feels a little
Wait,
disconnected from the
so
group.
everyone has their own ball.
Yeah, you can just go at the same time.
You go
Like,
whenever
don't
you
see-
go.
and you don't see your friends'
No.
ball.
You do. You
No.
do. Yes, you do.
You see their
Yeah.
ball, sure, but you don't see them. Like I would see their ball if we're in the same spot. So sometimes
All you
holes
see
will-
is the ball, so you don't see a
Holes-
club or anything like that.
Yeah, holes will split off. You know, sometimes you can go multiple areas because there's shortcuts on every
Yep.
hole to get things. So like, if Mike shoots up a shortcut and I don't go that shortcut, I'll never see Mike again in that hole, right?
Right.
Like he's gone, and so like
and so he may get there faster than me taking that
Yeah.
that route that he went. And sometimes there's 3 or 4 shortcuts that you could take. Some of them we can't even find.
But that's why I think having a turn-based system where like I go, then you go, and then someone else goes, and we play like that. I feel like it's more of like we're all rooting for how someone else shot, or we're all making fun
Sure.
if someone misses.
Or
and
I'm
it's-
sitting there waiting to see how Chris goes, so
Right.
that I know which way to go.
Exactly, which is how
not to
putt-putt
go.
how putt-putt works anyway. You know, when you're playing putt-putt, you
Guys,
want
guys,
someone
can
to
I
do.
have the microphone for a second?
What do you got?
Yeah.
If I'm playing online with my friends, is there any way that I can watch their shots and take turn? Absolutely. There's a turn order setting, but be warned that matches do take forever this way, and legit like an hour and a half. But if you go to the settings and turn on the turn order setting,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can watch your friends play.
Yeah, but Chris, that's true because you have to go. He goes through the entire course, and then you go, not just your shot.
Well, that's trash. I'm not
That's why
trying
I
to do
would
that.
think about why
Like,
it would take an hour and a half. Like
No,
why would
that's
it
probably
take-
not
He's
true.
saying, no, he's
No
saying,
way,
he's saying
no
legit
way.
an hour and a half to play the whole game.
between the
saying-
two of us.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a turn. Everyone gets a turn, and you have
Yeah.
to wait for them to
So
finish
that's
their turn.
Yeah, so take back everything I said. Just do that if you play this game. Do that because that would make the game way better.
I was
Yeah.
sitting there like, there's if he wants it, maybe more people want it
Yeah.
too. We had that discussion where I was like, you're never gonna be the only one with a problem.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that would make the game way better. So that's fucking awesome to know that exists. That really
and
is.
it's only
Yeah.
$14.99, so it's not real expensive, and it is a hilarious time.
It's on Xbox Game Pass.
It is. It is. If you're gonna buy it on Steam, you can. If you don't have Xbox Game Pass for $14.99.
Story
Now,
with not
there are
being able to
different-
play.
Yeah. So here's the problem, though. If you have it on Xbox Game Pass, you will not be able to play with somebody on Steam.
Yeah, we
so
found that
is
out.
something to note.
Now, if
It
I
is.
bought No Man's Sky on Steam, could I play with you guys on No Man's Sky on Game Pass, or are we like in a weird? monopoly?
I only have it for Steam, so I was playing with you guys yesterday.
Okay.
Okay,
Because
that's
I
a
definitely
weird
have it on
thing that
Game
they've
Pass.
Me too.
It's got to have to do with the servers for the game.
I am
company,
becoming
would think.
increasingly concerned about that because I'm like, what if you bought a disc of Cyberpunk, like a disc now, so you're not running it through Steam or Epic or any of these other launchers. So how do you play with friends then? You know, like
Yeah, but Cyberpunk is only single player, isn't it? It doesn't have it online.
until 2021. But I use that as
Oh,
an example.
really?
That's
they got-
exciting.
Oh, they plan to have the online?
Yeah,
Oh, the last time I read about it, I didn't think they did.
dude, Cyberpunk has been.
Oh, that's really interesting. But we can't get back into Cyberpunk. We could take forever on that.
Yeah, we
we
are
need to keep-
sidetracked in
right,
like.
let's
Chris,
just
would you
keep
say
going.
that this game is a smash? Would you smash it?
I would smash this game 100%. I give it 8 bits out of 8 bits, Mike. No, not really 8. I give it a 6.5 bits.
I don't know if I'd give it that much. That would put the bar pretty high. I think maybe 6.
For what it is, I think for what they tried to do, I think
It's a really simple game.
It's simple,
and
man.
It's a ton of fun. Like I said, I'd
Yo,
recommend
we-
alcohol.
I don't know why everybody's golf is getting such good reviews. I thought that was the game that you guys had
No.
were originally talking about
Golf
a long
with
time
friends.
ago.
No, golf with your friends. Team 17 Digital Limited. Rep.
I see that. I see that. I have golf with friends. I'm just saying. Now I look at everybody's golf. I see the actual golf player standing there.
How about being a project or a development company and being like, what do we want to name ourselves? How about Team 17 Digital Limited?
Digital Limited.
Like, and they were like, yes, perfect. Yeah, I'm like what?
There's got to be a reason for that. Maybe it's like 2 studios that got together, like Digital Limited and Team 17. Who knows?
God, and even then they were like, what should we name ourselves? I'm not budging. I'm not budging either. We're gonna just combine them. Yes. Like, no one had any better
Yeah,
idea than
the
that.
game studio sounds way better.
Right? God, they should have just done that. What were they thinking? Gonna have to take that out and post. Some game developer's gonna be like, perfect.
In a partnership with Amped Up Studios.
Yeah, amped up. That's pretty good too.
See what we got here.
So, are we gonna talk about what are we talking about next? The Elgato key light? You want to do?
Is that what you want me to go over? Yeah. Do you have any pictures to throw up there or anything?
I'm sure I can find something here. Give me a second, but you can go on to your tech talk.
All right, folks. So in today's Tech Talk, we are going to discuss the Elgato Key Light Air. Now, this is a light for streamers made by the famous Elgato company. Obviously, they are famous for making very good streaming gear, from the Elgato Cam Link in order to plug in your digital SLR into your computer, to the Elgato HD60, which is an internal streaming card. This is their Key Light Air. This is it's $129.99, and it is a light that sits on your desk. That may be my only problem with it, but I'll get to that. This has 1400 lumen output, and it has a color range of 2900 to 7000K, and it is controlled by a Wi-Fi app on your Stream Deck.
And you're using it right now, right?
Huh?
Wait, Mike, do you have a
I
Stream
I'm
Deck?
using it right now. I do not have a Stream Deck, but I do have the app on my phone, so I can control it that way. Now, what I
Shit,
really
my
like
heart
about the
for
color,
you.
I know. Now, what I really like about the color range is that it's perfect. I mean, you can either get a bright white light, or you can get a natural, fully natural incandescent color out of that light. The Wi-Fi app works fantastically. I've found that it is almost instant when I press the power button on the app that the light comes on, and changing the color spectrum is also fairly quick. I mean, this is going from one color, this is going to the other. So it is very fast. I usually keep it somewhere in the middle. I like it looks a little bit more natural. 1400 lumen output means that it is extremely bright, but something that I noticed about this is that it doesn't blind you for some reason. The way that they've done the LED panel in there keeps it from really getting in your eyes and making you feel like you're being blinded the whole stream. I honestly forget that the light's even there while I'm sitting here streaming after a while. And honestly, it makes the picture look pretty incredible. And
Could you tell us about any heat output from
None.
the light?
Zero.
Not at
I
all?
don't feel anything.
That's
Nothing.
incredible.
And just to
We know
show you
it's
the
LED,
difference,
but still.
this is with no light. So that's,
oh, wow.
I mean, it's a pretty big difference. And it gives my camera, its full frame rate when I'm streaming. So that's nice. So the positives about it: doesn't blind you. The app works fantastic. The base is heavy. It keeps it from moving around on your desk. It's extremely bright. The color range is great. The adjustments are good. I think that there's a little bit to be desired there. It could have some easier adjustments. I mean, it's either you unscrew it and it kind of drops the post down, or you unscrew it and you lift it up. So I would wish for maybe something a little more mechanical in how that moves, instead of just such a rough motion.
But it works, right?
It does. It works incredibly well. And it's the only light that I really need in here in order to light me up. I'd actually love to have another one on this side to light me up from here. What's really nice is you can also unscrew it from the
Key Light, if you'd like to support the channel, you can go ahead and send that to DJ Mike.
Yes, please, Elgato. I would appreciate that. You're a very large company. You could probably do it.
Read them out while you're at it.
You can also unscrew it, and it works with other mounts. So if you want to get a mount that comes up and goes over your head, like Chris actually likes a lot, that goes right over your head, you can get one that comes up and goes right over it.
That's legit. See, I cheaped out and got these $40 like floodlights that I have, but I also have this one here in front of me, which is my second one that I don't have on right now. And I fucked around a little bit and was like, I wonder what it would look like if I used this as my LED light for my face. And when you talk about it not blinding you, it's very important, because sometimes it's a little much when
Chris, that's awful.
Yeah, so this is to give you a contrast of like a light that is not conducive to what you need. Spend the right money and get the right key light. And
honestly, it's expensive, but it's totally worth. I regretted it walking out of Best Buy. That's another one we'll take. I regretted it walking out of Best Buy and going, man, I just spent $130 on an LED light. LEDs are supposed to be cheaper and more efficient. Like,
you get what you pay for with that
but
shit,
it's
man.
totally worth it. I mean,
Yeah.
this makes everything up here for me. My negatives, I've only got 3 of them. It does not mount to the desk. I really would have loved one that mounted to the desk. While the base is nice and keeps it in place, it does take up space on my desk. So that's the one thing that they do make one, the regular key light, not the key light Air, does have a desk clamp that it works with instead of the stand. Like I said before, it could be a little easier to raise and lower. It works well enough for what you needed to do, but I just wish it was a little more of a mechanical motion rather than just a drop down.
Yeah.
And then the power cord. It's not very long considering it has to sit somewhere, and there may not be a outlet near you. So it would be nice to have a little bit of a larger one.
I'm surprised most technology doesn't have longer cords. The
I
cords that
agree.
they
Well,
offer are
this cord has to
short.
ride all the way up the base, which is like 2.5 feet tall, and it plugs into the back of the light itself. So, yeah, I mean,
Yes,
but all in
extension
all,
cords are
definitely worth it.
I'm probably going to pick one of those up. 130 seems a little heavy for a light, but man, it makes such a difference in your video, man.
It's huge.
It really does.
It's humongous. Yeah, it really is. It's been a big difference.
Nick, are you gonna think about buying any lights anytime soon for yours, or are you just keeping the fan light going? Is that the go-to?
Yeah, right now we got the top light on. I could add a couple lights either side of the monitor to bring this beautiful face to fruition. But where I'm sitting right now, honestly, and I don't even mind that we pivot to this part of the conversation because we have not covered it, and I want to, is the Quest 2, I believe. I don't think that's something that we've even talked about, and like that's where my money, I believe.
No,
at
and
this point,
that's a big thing, and I think that's been just since we did our last stream that's come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that if we're talking 100 and probably like, you know, if you guys are saying it was $130 light, you throw in the tax and whatever else, and if I bought it online, probably $150, whatever. So, okay, so it's half the price of the VR to light my face up a little better for the 6 people that are at the moment checking this out. I'm gonna have to go with, I believe, the VR so that I can have more information, more news, more reviews, more hands-on tech. I can take it to your house. You can play with it. Mike's gonna get one before I get one. Then I can play with Mike. Mike
I
can
actually
play with me.
just returned my Rift S today so that I could pre-order the Quest.
And
2.
that shows, though, he had the Rift S when the review was live 2 weeks ago. He's played it.
The day I bought my Rift S is the day that night Facebook announced. Well, it was leaked, I believe, that the Quest 2 was a thing. It
Yeah,
was coming out
and
soon.
I had started that
Kick in the
morning. To
nuts.
do my, it happens often, but it wasn't a kick in the nuts because he was able to return it. This would be
I
the
was,
true kick in the
right.
nuts if this
Thank
was
you,
bought
Best Buy.
1 month ago. 1 month ago, and they said no, I'm sorry about your luck. You might have got 2/3 of your cash back on a quick buy on
Not
Facebook.
even. you'd
But
be
again,
really surprised.
it's really tough right now. You're right. VR is a tough sale when it's not on somebody who already wants it. And I was upset when I read the article the next morning because it has better resolution, eye to eye.
Mhm.
It's got an increased refresh rate. I think it's not 90. I don't know. No, it's 90
It is
after
90 after
a couple weeks. or
they
whatever.
get the
It could be a while.
drivers
Yeah.
done.
Which you've told me isn't a big thing. Like if it's 90 works at Christmas, it works at Christmas. Like it's not breaking the bank. So we're getting 90 frames per eye, Chris. So that is better frame rate than you've seen on my console at the moment. So when you see Red Dead running at 85, Grand Theft running at 85, that's another 5 per eye. And then they have the ability to play games like Beat Saber, to play games like there are other games that don't require PCs, so you don't always need a PC to play a good VR game. That like the bar game where you're drunk and everyone else is drunk and you're all wandering around punching each other. That's not gonna. I'm sure they can get that running without you being tethered to a PC. So my idea is that they finally made a thing that works for both people. I can run out to my back porch, throw it on my dad's head, and watch him play Beat Saber outside, then bring it in here and get a $900 experience, the same as you would get with the Vive or the HTC or the what is the main one, the Index, and
The Valve Index, yeah.
yeah, and it's $300. The Valve Index is $1,000.
Yeah.
right?
It's a higher resolution than that.
It's meant to be better. It's $1,000. You're talking about a lot of money extra, $700 more. If you're gonna tell me that the Quest 2 is 85% as good as an Index at a third of the price, sold. I got a 28 Supra knowing that it was 30%.
But it definitely, and the reviews are saying that it delivers, but we need to make sure that it actually delivers, because
I agree.
it can't just be 85% of the Index. It also needs to be 100% better than the last
the Rift
one.
S. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because
if
if I get it,
if not 100% better, it needs to be better and also do more. And I think that being wireless and being tethered and not being hindered, like every article I've read so far says, when you put the link cable in, you've got a Rift S on your head, just with better resolution. And the fact that you can jack it out, throw it in the trunk of your car, bring it to Chris's house and fire it up for the price of a cheap TV.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
Yeah, they cut a couple of
VR to the masses.
Like the headset, you have to spend about $70 to get the extra battery and the better headset that you can attach to it. They've got some headphones that you can buy that are a little bit better than the ones in it, but you've got.
I remember when you said to me, it's only cheap if you already have a pair of cams.
Right.
If you already got a PC, it starts to add up later. But
Absolutely.
I can definitely see for enthusiasts, this is now. They've cut the knees out of the Valve Index. The Valve Index is still a very powerful, very potent machine, but I'm hearing all these rumors about Oculus working on fingerless controls.
This is accessible. What Facebook needs to do is they're trying to get VR into the hands of the most people, and that's what this is going to do. They've already shelved the PC discussion. They don't their niche is not in the PC realm.
Now that doesn't mean that Valve.
That doesn't mean they're not going to
make kick-ass games that run on it.
But they're handing all of that over to HTC and HP and Valve and Microsoft. They're handing the PC game over to them because they don't think that's where the market's going.
Are you going to say that there's going to come a place in the next 3 years? And we could probably be doing this podcast, I hope, in the next 3 years. So we'll come back to this. But you're telling me there's a chance that we will all be communicating, not like this. This is still going to go by camera, I'm sure. But are you thinking that there is going to be a new way to hang out via throwing on a headset?
There already is.
100%.
I mean, there already is. You can already.
I know there's already comfortable ways to do it.
No, but I'm saying you can in the Oculus right now get courtside seats to an NBA game. Like, why?
That is really cool.
Like, that's awesome.
Really cool. So I hear you're there.
Yeah, you're there. That's exactly how it is. And you're supposed to sit there courtside watching the game. And
you got your headphones on. You feel you're there.
Yeah, it's already there. I mean, when you go into a game like Big Screen or something like that, and you just jump, which is basically just rooms where people can put up movies.
I know. I heard that you put the VR on and you can put a 200-foot screen in front of you.
I mean, that's exactly right. And you just jump in a room. I jumped into a room a couple of weeks ago with a couple of people in Big Screen at like midnight on a Saturday or something, or like 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, and they were all in there shit faced. Like one guy was falling over, and you're like seeing his character fall on the ground and shit, and that they're just drunk having this ridiculous conversation with this techno music playing with this on this big giant screen in a forest. It's like ridiculous.
I saw a guy balancing on a metal pole, and he was like, "Guys, you want to see me do some magic?" And everyone's like, "Yeah." And he steps on the metal pole in real life, and it looks like he's floating. And he's like, everyone's like, "Oh my god, how did you do that?" And then he straps himself into one of those things that tip upside down. He's like, "Watch this, guys!" And he goes upside down. He bangs his head on the floor, and the VR headset comes off his head. He's like, "Hold on, guys!" And they're like, "This guy's got some sort of witchcraft. How are you in VR?"
It's hilarious. Awesome. It should be a pretty big feat for Facebook, and they are all in on it. So
now, are we seeing like Facebook Horizon has animation on par with like the Nintendo Wii? Like they've got those little Wii.
It reminds me a lot of Rec Room, which is kind of like that.
Yeah, I remember Rec Room. If that was on the Wii, right? And that was where you all had everyone together running around. Yeah. Is it going to stay that way for at least the foreseeable future because it's easy for people to make an easy avatar. Bitmoji
Yeah.
will probably get involved. where you
Yeah,
can
I mean,
do
it's
your
like
own
its own
Bitmoji.
environment. I don't think they have any plans of it looking realistic.
Doesn't have to be. It's its own thing.
No, I think Oasis will get built by somebody else.
I can go shopping with you at Amazon. You can tell me about the things I'm buying. We can look at them and spin them around in real time. That's gonna be nice. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, I'm looking at these new tires for my car. Oh, let's go check them out on TireRack.com. And here we are swiping like we're in the fucking Matrix. I don't like that one. I don't know. Those ones will fit nice. Okay, bye now. Bloop. You know what I mean? They're bought in the real world. Like, what is happening, man?
Yeah, man. When we want to get into a game, we're gonna jump into a car and we're gonna drive to like a building that's the game. And when we go in the building, it's gonna bring us into the game.
I think everything we're doing now is the birth. You know, oh Mike, left camera. I do think everything we're seeing now is just the start. You know, when they talked about how like Donkey Kong, Super Mario, Zelda, they were the birth of that was quick. They were the birth of like RPGs and open world games. I think that what Mike's got right now, all those cameras and stuff, they're talking about camera. The Quest 2 is cameraless. It's all in here. It's all with sensors. And it's like, wait, so now we don't need, now I can turn around 360 without cameras? Like, wow, man, like how are they functioning this way? But it's all to do with gyro sensors and things like that that are going to actively work with that.
Yeah, and the big thing about this is the upgrades that they've done. You know, the Snapdragon XR2 processor is supposed to be able to do double what the old Quest was able to do. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get better looking games, but that does mean that the games you get are going to run much better than they did on the Quest. So
yeah. And I've always been a big,
not a bad thing.
I've been a huge proprietor of, I've got PlayStation VR. It's probably going to sell it or give it to Chris soon. And I know that it's 30 frames per second at 720i, and it's disgusting. It's worked for how well I've had it, and it.
How much FPS is it?
It's 30 FPS per eye.
Is it really 30 per eye? Wow, that's noticeable.
And it's only I think it's 30. I don't want to be wrong. Mike, throw it up. Have a quick nooch. I do know that it also, I do know that it's also 720. The resolution is not 1080, I don't believe, or I could be wrong.
It's 60 FPS. It's actually 1080? 60 to 120.
60 to 120 and 1080, right?
A native refresh rate of the LCD screen. The Rift and Vive, on the other hand, cap at 90. Yeah, it's actually pretty high.
It's just the resolution is terrible.
The resolution is bad.
Yeah, find out what that resolution is. It's not. Could be 1080, but it just doesn't feel right to me. I
think that's also the games too. Well, no, not necessarily. But Moss on the Oculus looks absolutely stunning. I don't know what it looks like on.
Yeah, the resolution is 1080 per eye, so it's not. Again, it's
well, and that's why. That's not very much. Everything you're looking at basically looks fuzzy and pixelated.
Not just fuzzy and pixelated, but I don't think it does anything to help your inner ear. It doesn't do anything to help your you not get the VR sickness. I know that there's such a thing as getting your VR legs. So the more you play VR, the better you become at VR because you become more comfortable with it.
For sure, the more you play, the less sick you get.
But I do sit there and think that like, if you can see, it would be like being drunk and running at 60 frames per second versus being sober. You know, when everything's blurry and you're trying to get through a space station, you're like, oh man, what is that? That looks pretty cool. And you keep going.
Well, see, and that's why I bought the Rift S, because my Oculus, while my original CV1, ran way better than my Rift S did for the 2.5 weeks that I had it.
Yeah, you had some issues, man, like with that Rift S.
It had a lot of display problems, and it would make me sick at games because it would just like parts of it would go black while moving around and like glitch, and it was not a good experience, so I returned it. But the original one, while it didn't have really any performance problems for me, the visuals, everything looked a little fuzzy. Every time I would look at words, they're real fuzzy. So what I'm buying is the the resolution increase. That's exactly what I'm buying. I don't want to have to know. I don't want to have to guess at what I'm reading on screen. I'm over that.
I'm surprised
100%.
at
And I would
1080
say
you
that
even
would
have to fucking guess on what you're looking at. You know, like 1080 shouldn't.
You shouldn't. And you played it, and it looks great. But when you play it as much as I have, and you start noticing that things just
like when you were
really
playing
fucking-
when you were playing the multiplayer one and you were in those hotels, you were still like, you know what I mean, like pow, 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 pow. It wasn't. It's not as it is now with these current PCs, and I haven't heard any information about PlayStation doing a PSVR 2. The only thing I've heard is that they've just recently filed a patent for fingerless motion controllers for VR. But take that with a grain of salt, because it seems like PlayStation does a patent every 3 weeks. It never comes to fruition. They're just covering all their bases in case there's something that they decide they want to invest their time in down the road. But they're still supporting the PlayStation VR, and I think they're going to continue supporting the PlayStation VR. But I can't see their focus maintained on the VR when the PlayStation 5 is coming out in 6 weeks, and it is time now to ramp up the PlayStation 5 and everything we have to do with that. And we've got to sell units, we've got to sell controllers, games, headsets, hard drives. We've just learned are nearly $300 a piece to upgrade your hard drive.
Is that what the price is? I didn't even see the price.
$270 for the Xbox hard drive. Yeah, and you can pre-order it right now.
Plug in a traditional hard drive.
Yes. And they're saying that the PlayStation. No, you can't at the moment. Currently, at this time, with a PlayStation, you can use third-party hard drives, but they have to be at specific speed, otherwise they won't work. So it's SSD and
With the
then
current PlayStation?
Sorry, with the PS5. Then,
okay.
Then the Xbox Series X has a Xbox branded Seagate, I believe, that is $270, and you can't swap it out for another one at the moment. It has to be that Xbox one.
Seagate failure rate on hard drives for me really quick, because I can guarantee you that Hitachi is the #1 hard drive maker on the planet.
Let me see. SSD for Xbox Series X.
You're not going to like the number. For their part, Seagate, annualized failure rates of 1%. That's a lot.
It might not be Seagate. It might not be Seagate. It's Xbox Series X. What is that brand? What's the brand that's got a swirl in it?
That's Seagate.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Xbox Series X will come with a 1 terabyte of built-in storage at launch, but you won't be able to use all of that for storing games. Oh yeah, here it is. It's quite expensive. An additional 1 terabyte that actually comes with only 920 gigs of usable space is $220.
Oh, that's
and they've also said that the PlayStation 5 can only run with a specific one, which when priced out was slightly more than the Xbox's $220 card, putting it at probably $240. So yeah, man, I was telling my brother that I told Chris today, Harriman, the guy we're chatting to, Kodiak, the man. I told him on the phone that the PlayStation is only coming with 875 gigabytes. It's not a full terabyte. You can look it up right now.
Takes up a ton.
No, the operating system takes up a ton after that, my friend. Check this out. This was breaking news. PS5 SSD size, right? Boom. It pops up 825 gigabytes. It's not a real terabyte. Now you've got to take out the operating system from that.
Yeah, it's 825 minus the OS, man.
Wow.
That's insane. I was telling Chris today that Call of Duty
that's
with
Call
all
of
of its
Duty.
updates is 150 gigabytes.
Call of Duty and Marvel Avengers.
It's not. It's you're right. It's about 3 games. It's 3 150 gigabyte games, and some shared videos.
How much do you think that Final Fantasy VII is going to take up by the time you get all of them in there?
Yeah, but honestly, that's how they made it affordable. You know, like
of course. Like
they cut corners where they could.
I said you're getting
you get the performance, you don't get the storage.
You're still getting a PlayStation 5 is still a $1,500 PC, and an Xbox Series X is still a $2,000 PC. It's
From what I'm reading, it supports any USB 3.0 hard drive.
I was going to say, I read that on Twitter this morning, that any USB 3.0
So
will
what I'll do is I'll buy a
on.
terabyte solid state and throw it into an external enclosure, and I'll plug that son of a bitch into my PS5.
Right. That's what Twitter was saying,
So
that
you're
they
buying
actually
an
respect.
internal and plugging it into an external enclosure, and then plugging that into the thing. Okay. What are you talking about? An internal SSD, not an M.2. 'cause you wouldn't put
Not an
that in
M.2,
your
just a
PC.
regular.
Do they make M.2
reading-
things that you could
reading
slot
band.
in and then plug
Yeah,
it
yeah,
in?
yeah. I've got one.
That would be
Hey guys,
sick.
we got to wrap this up. We're pushing 2 hours right now on this thing, and it is midnight on the clock, and I have got to run. So, do we have
He's like,
anything
I got
else?
work tomorrow. My eyes, my
I am like trying to stay up, but we went
Well,
way off
you
script on this
motherfuckers,
one, and it is just
I
continuing to go.
literally have to work as soon as we get off of this.
Yeah, man, I gotta mine some storm crystals, man. I know
Yep.
what's going.
Hey, I respect all that. I'm just saying, is there anything
Nah,
else
I'll
y'all want
probably
to
watch
discuss?
The Boys. That's the one I gotta invest my time in. Any closing comments for today's show? I'll start with you, Chris. What do you got?
Well,
Anything?
there's
He's
some.
probably like nothing. He's like, wrap
the-
it, wrap it.
No, we got some new on-demand content that we can talk about real quick. Enola Holmes on Netflix. The
I watched
female,
the first half of it.
his sister. I guess it's his sister, right?
Yeah,
Sherlock
his
Holmes'
younger sister.
Yep, and it's played by, I forget her real name,
Millie
but
Bobby
it's 11
Brown.
by in Stranger Things, Billy Bobby Brown, and you've got
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill as Sherlock
Yeah.
Holmes.
Wow.
And his brother
Okay.
is.
Okay.
he got
It's
like
but it's a very teen movie. Like
I
it's,
agreed.
it
I
is a
couldn't finish
very-
it.
It's a very childish movie. Like
As
it's
soon as I
it's
got
not
halfway
grown
through,
up.
I looked at my dad and said, I think this is made for 12-year-olds.
yeah, no, it for sure is exactly what it is, and it's
That's
about a mother.
unfortunate.
It's about a girl who lost her mom and she's looking for her. So
Fine, and you've got the Henry who is like Sherlock, who's in it like 15% of the movie. He's
Yeah.
not the main character. The way that they advertised it was like, wait, Sherlock and his little sister are going on a massive adventure. Like, no, Sherlock doesn't give a damn. He's doing his
no,
own
this
thing.
is all feeding into. I think it could probably end up
A
being
mini
like a series
universe.
or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate.
You know,
I might check that
Netflix
out, but
grabbed it and turned it into a series. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what I got. I think keeping in contact with some new Netflix content.
I
There's
have
a
heard
movie
that
called
that
The
Boys
Tape.
season 2 on Amazon Prime is absolutely slaying it, like slaying it.
Yeah, every episode is hitting like 9s and 10s. So.
9s and 10s, no downtime at all.
What are we looking at?
The Boys
The
season
Boys
2.
season 2.
Oh yeah. Have you looked at the outrage on that show on Amazon? By the
No.
way,
The
have you looked
outrage.
at why? Have you looked at why it's only got 2 stars?
Why?
Because people are so angry that Amazon didn't release all of the episodes at once that they're downvoting the entire show.
People
That is so
suck.
whack.
Bro, it's
because they released the first
look
3
at the
episodes
reviews.
in one
It's
go.
people are really mad. They think that it's a big money grab. Somebody's like,
A money
what am I
grab?
supposed
How's
to
that
do-
even a
What am
money
I
grab?
supposed to do with all of the food that I bought to just sit here and binge watch the show?
God,
And I'm
humans
like,
are
Well,
weird,
what
man.
people
are you
got
talking
upset because
about?
they released 3 episodes in one go, and
So
then they dripping them out now 1 a week. I don't
Who
care. I'm all
cares?
for it.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
don't
seen 1
give a shit.
episode. I'm about to watch 7 in
Do you
one.
know how much
sitting.
people? Can I tell you how much content is out there? You don't need one show to watch.
Nope. There's so much good stuff. So much good stuff.
But
It
I'm
does
not
suck
telling
when
you
you. It does suck when you get into a groove though, and you're like, man, I wish there was another episode of that. And you're like,
That's
oh,
how I
I
felt with
gotta.
Cobra Kai.
Oh, bro, have you finished it?
Oh yeah.
I
So
watched
good,
episode
right?
1. Wow, man. I'm
good, right?
Episode 1, they're only 25 minutes long an episode.
No, let's just talk about episode 1.
I
That's
watched
fine.
it- I
We'll
watched
attack
it-
them afterwards.
I watched it when I was going to bed. At her mom's house this weekend. And I was like, she was sleeping. I'm like, I'm gonna check Cobra Kai out because she keeps being like,
He
no.
kicks that kid gets in a fight and he's like, yo, what's the car, man? He's like, what's everyone's
I
ass?
love how he was like
Kicks him
sitting
in
there
death.
eating his pizza, and the way the clerk was like touching on his pizza the whole time, and he was
He's like,
like,
yo, could you get a plate?
yeah.
Would you just
And
hand
the
it to me,
clerk's
dog?
like,
Just
fuck.
give it to me.
Yeah, and he's just sitting there not giving a shit. The kid's getting his ass beat until they hit his car. And
How
then he
good
hops
is
up.
that kid?
what?
Yeah.
How good is that kid? You
So
should
good.
see him now. Google. Well, I won't.
I won't. I don't want to ruin it.
Now,
Yeah.
no. He looks different now than he even does in the show. Even at the end of second season, he has a mustache, a goatee, hair down to here now. He looks so good, bro. I was like, yo, season 3 is gonna be. He's gonna come into his
Fire.
element as far as acting is concerned.
That's
Who are we
pretty
talking
good.
about? Which
The main,
kid.
the one that the kid that.
the like Spanish kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good. And like, I love how this the way that they're doing the show, and spoilers for anyone who
Yeah,
hasn't
don't-
really gotten into it. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I do like how they understand that when you watched Karate Kid, this was two 12, 13, 14-year-olds who were having an argument in school over a girl and over a karate championship. Now they're both men. It's so funny how you're seeing it from Johnny's side. And Johnny's like, I was just at a party.
This kid just came to this school and took my girlfriend.
He took my girlfriend and then he punches me in the face. What was I supposed to do?
I'm just in the bathroom stalls and I'm rolling a joint, me and my friends, and he just comes in and just kicks our
Dumps a
ass.
bucket of water on my head, you know? And like, when you see it like that from the other kid's point of view, you're like, oh, kids are so fucked up, man. Like, it wasn't all his fault. A lot of the time, he antagonized it. Fuck, you know what I mean? And it's like, and it's great that LaRusso knows that too. Like, he knows that they had some shit in school. He keeps trying to pull it off. Like, in school, Johnny this, Johnny that. And they're like, yo, you were kids. Why are you dwelling on that shit? And like,
his wife in that show is super hot.
Bro, without
Like,
Chris. The only thing I
super
remember,
hot.
when he kicks that cup of lemonade out that guy's hand at the dealership, oh boy! He's like, yo. He's like, you don't do anything around here. He's like, I run 2 karate championships. He's like, yeah, but you probably couldn't do anything anymore. And he's like, spin kick, whoop-pow!
I haven't got that far. That's not in the first episode.
Oh no, I knew it wasn't. I had to throw it out there. It's too far.
You'll get there.
It's too far. You'll get there. It's like the things I got to do on a daily to not tell them about Final Space is insane. I literally have to wake up and go through rituals where I'm like, don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
God, that might be what I watch tonight. If
So we
Mike's
want to remind everybody of the Patreon account.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/high-input games. Bronze level subscribers get the show ad-free. Silver level subscribers get access to the post-show. Tonight's post-show will consist of Mike doing this while he's at work and Chris doing this as he sleeps.
Good night.
Good guys. I'll see you guys later. On the next episode, I think we're going to cover Squadron, so just be ready for that. Later, guys.
Deuces.